Annyeonghaseyo! Welcome to Afternoona Delight, where Leah, Megan, and Amy, romance novelists, and your K-romance guides. So grab some dekboki and listen to your new favorite unnies. Hey, everybody.
Hello. Hi there.
How's everyone on this Wednesday? Sweaty.
So last week you were in a wool turtleneck.
Yes, I was. And so today I'm not, but I did think I wanted to mention this today because it made me laugh. I am sorry to lead with the weather. I feel like I always lead with the weather, but I was laughing today because the temperatures got up to about 77 here, and people were everywhere I went. People were just like, how you hanging in? How we doing with the heat? And I've been like all day, like, oh, I need to go get some water. It's just so hot. And I keep looking. I'm like, okay, it's like 76. But yeah, we're just a little fragile.
You live there. I don't understand. This is 77
because we really are set.
You are spoiled
enough that we are temperature set between 55 and like 64.
That is wild.
And so it goes above. I mean, right now in my house, it's probably, 77, 78 degrees. And
that's warm in the house. I will agree. I don't
Mm-hmm.
I have my air conditioning.
Oh yeah. So we don't
set.
have air con or anything like that.
That's so weird to me because you're south of me, aren't you?
But we're on the coast and we're also getting, so the way the California coast works where we are, look, I am not an oceanographer to get, if somebody wants to be like, well, actually, so it gets very hot inland. So you go away from the coast, over if you go over the Santa Cruz Mountains and you get into San Jose or then beyond into the Central Valley, you're going to have temperatures pushing 113, 108.
That's
but then
gross.
You come to the coast, so you only drive, as the crow flies, very little. That crow just has to flap his wings a few times and you get by the coast. And the hotter it gets inland, we get more fog. And then the fog cools everything right down.
Okay.
And we're also getting the ocean. And the ocean here, we're not getting stuff from Mexico. We're getting stuff from up north, up Alaska way. So the way that I think we get our currents and the way that our fog sits, if you're on the coast itself, we could be having days where we're in 55 degrees and totally locked down fog, the fog you thought was pollution when you went to San Francisco. We're in that. And you go to Fresno where Megan is, who does our host, Afternoona Army hosts and stuff like that. She could be sitting in 108.
Ugh.
And we're a couple hours apart driving and way less than that flying.
So Santa Cruz in general, people wouldn't have air conditioning in their houses. Okay.
No. And so schools don't. So and when you go back to school, so for us, our fog goes away at the end of so at some point our fog kind of lifts. And I would say that right around when school goes back, August into September is when we get weather that can hit into the mid 80s, sometimes dip to a 90 for a day. And I feel like that's when we send the kids back to school and everyone's just dying. Everyone everywhere is actively dying.
That's us. We've already hit above 80 in the Chicago burbs, and we will July and August usually gets us in the high 80s, sometimes 90s. And then the kids go back to school. All the schools in our district now have air conditioning. It used to be that none of the elementary schools did. And of all the kids who are just the worst when they're hot and bothered, it's going to be the littler kids, right? So what they used to do at my kids' school, because my kids' elementary school got air conditioning the year after Connor, my younger one, left. So neither of my kids had air conditioning in elementary school. One room had air, and it was the library. Mm-hmm. And so classes would take turns cycling through the library throughout the day to just have 20 minutes of cool air.
Cool off.
Before they'd have to go back to their swampy classrooms.
Go read your book. Oh my gosh. I think my daughter told me she read 14 books this year in school. Isn't that crazy? That's a lot. She's in 5th grade and she reads long chapter books.
By choice. Those are her choice books.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I was really proud of her. I was like, that's a lot of books and you killed it. She's been reading nonstop. I'm really, really.
I love that. My daughters my daughter's a huge reader too. My son, not so much. He had me get him the Dune audiobook.
Oh,
when he was going on a road trip with his dad over spring break. Because he has seen Dune 2, like part 2 of the movie. He saw it 3 times in the theater. He just kept going with people who hadn't seen it yet. And now he's also watched it like on streaming. He loves it. He loves that world. So I got him the audiobook for him to listen to on his road trip with his dad. Didn't even listen to a minute of it. And so it's still sitting, it's in my Audible, and we're going on a trip, coming up. And if he doesn't listen to it, like when we're flying to Europe, then I'm going to be like, you owe me a book, but
right. I was like,
I used to credit on this.
Yeah, you owe me some Audible credit.
Yeah, no, he's not into reading, but you want to know what he is into now? He's 15. Yeah. Bought him his first bottle of cologne this weekend. His buddy was going to take him cologne shopping, and that like fell through. I'm like, come on, you want me to take you? I'm like, let's go to Sephora.
Aww.
And so he just walked around and was like sniffing stuff and ended up picking. And I'm like, I will buy you your first bottle, because he was going to spend his own money. And I'm like, you don't even have a job. It's fine. I will buy you your first bottle of cologne. He picked Dior Sauvage.
Love it.
Which it smells great on him.
Is that the Johnny Depp one? Is that the Johnny Depp commercial one? Yeah,
it is. Not super excited about that, but yeah. So bought it for him at Sephora, and like he's like, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna shower and I'm gonna try it on. I'm like, okay, but here's like, we gotta talk about this.
That's really cute.
Because his buddy who wanted to take him cologne shopping, I like his friend. He's a great kid, but every time I have the two of them in the car, I'm in like a cloud. Like I feel like I'm in like a cloud of cologne. I'm like, so you can't wear it like he does. He's like, no, I won't. I'm like, really? You need like a spray, like a spray, and don't spray it like right close up. Like give yourself a little bit of room, let it mist over you.
Walk into it.
Yep. So he's like experimenting with it. So he showered the other night and put it on to go nowhere, to sit in the basement and play video games, but he wanted to see how long it lasted.
That's adorable.
So he sprayed on his cologne, went downstairs to play video games, and I went down like later that night to like talk to him about like, what are we going to do for dinner or whatever. He's like, can you smell it? Can you still smell me? I'm like, baby. I smelled you as soon as I walked in the door at the top of the stairs. So I'm like, I think you've got plenty. He's like, I just did one spray.
You're like, it's Dior. It should last.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, my son is 13, and his voice it's been like lowering. Okay. But this past week, it's hit a whole new level where it's uncontrollable for him. Like the cracking today alone, the cracking is out of control. I feel like when he talks, I don't know what voice is going to come out. Do you know what I mean? It's either going to be like the voice I heard earlier, a lower voice, or like some weird cracking hiccupy voice in the middle. And it's so, I feel bad because I like when he cracks, I'm like, wow, like I need to stop drawing attention to it, but it's just wild for me.
I don't think Connor ever cracked.
My oldest.
I don't think he ever cracked. I think he just went from like, it was a little boy voice and then it wasn't.
Oh my God. He's cracked so loud. My brother is very uncouth, but my brother looked straight at him and was like, did your balls just drop? Like, which I was like, I was like, uncle, let's give him a break. But I mean, it was that hard of a crack. It's, oh God, I know, I feel bad, but
teen boys.
I know,
it's weird.
Yeah, Jared's did some cracking, but it's definitely, he's like, my son had, like, the puberty door has been unlocked for a bit now, and it's right because it's like there is a little bit of an element of a puppy of just kind of being like a bit big, but he's really starting to like like he feels more adult. Like he's currently in Australia right now, and his dad keeps sending pictures. I don't think he's put a shirt on since he entered the country.
Oh my God,
he's just like everywhere he goes, and I'm like, he just looks like a bro. Like he doesn't look like my baby. He looks like a bro. Right. He does also wear cologne. He wears Versace, the Dreamer.
Oh my God.
So we got Dior and Versace. What is Dane? Dane's next. What's Dane gonna wear?
Dane wears deodorant.
What's funny is that my husband got a bottle of cologne from my brother for Christmas once. I forget what it was, but it was like a nice bottle. My brother came to visit like 5 years later and found the bottle like unopened in the bathroom and was like, I'm just taking it back. Like,
yeah.
I don't think my husband's ever touched cologne in his entire life. So it's funny to see, like, yeah, my son likes to do his hair. He likes to put product in his hair. And it's not like, and so when I'm saying all this too, you might be getting an idea that he's like groomed in some sort of like slicked up way. No. It's kind of like he's working very hard to look not put together.
Right.
To
look unkempt. Yeah, he's got look unkempt. Every picture I've seen of him, his hair's all over the place.
Yeah, his hair's all over the place. It's a lot of work to have like that kind of like that long, I just woke up and like came out of the waves look. And there's a lot of effort being put
the beach hair. I just went surfing hair.
And what's really funny is our neighbor surfs like every morning and she's a year younger than him. And she's like, is Jared ever going to go surfing?
What a poser.
And no, well, he's like, I skate. And so he's into skating. And then look, I'm not going to get into all of what he's into, but he has really gotten into street art, which is graffiti.
Okay.
And we have had to set some like interesting boundaries to talk about like, that doesn't mean you go down the street and cause mayhem. It means that we get to I'm like such an annoying mom because I think like in some ways I'm cool because I'm not like, absolutely not. Give me all the spray bottles and like, you're done, mister. But I'm like, now you're going to get your books on like Banksy and street art and we're going to critique and we're going to go to the city and like look at shit and talk about the intentionality behind it.
We're going to go to the museum. Yeah, that's amazing.
So he's just kind of like, okay. And I'm like, so yeah, I want you to understand that like what we're doing here. We're not going to be like whoever the dude was who went by my little, or girl or person who went by my free little library, 4 years ago and wrote dicks on the side of it.
I mean,
like wrote the word
also
dicks
funny.
or drew dicks?
Wrote the word dicks.
Just the word? Dicks. Like, didn't even try and draw dicks?
No,
like, just the word.
Dicks. And then I had to sit and like sand it out of the wood. Like, I have 9,000 things I'd rather do than sand the word dicks out of my free little library.
Poor little free library.
You know what that makes me feel like, though, when I see somebody write dicks on my free little library? It makes me want to drink.
I was like, makes me want to have a shot of soju?
Makes me.
Oh, goodness.
So
that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Well, if you watch K-dramas, any K-dramas, you are familiar with the spirit soju, which is often shown in a green-tinted glass bottle. Soju is a distilled alcoholic beverage historically made from rice. It's now kind of mixed with some other things, which, I'm not going to give a whole background on how it's made. If you're really that interested, I'm sure you can do a whole deep dive. Soju is a distilled alcoholic beverage. Oh, I already said that. Sorry. It has a flavor similar to vodka and can now be purchased in many flavors, such as strawberry and peach. Idol and rapper Jay Park has his own soju brand, and many idols and actors often appear in soju ads. In an interview with Food and Wine, Busan-born Bobby Yoon, owner and founder of NYC Korean barbecue joint Yoon Hyundai Galbi, says, in Korea, we have a saying that soju tastes like life. One day it's sweet, one day it's bitter, and sometimes it's just clean and smooth. And then he also says this, traditionally, soju is fermented white rice with a crisp flavor, a little apple, and sometimes a touch of burnt rice. So before we get into a little bit of the history of soju, how about the three of us talk about what we think about the flavor of soju and any experiences that we have had with the spirit? Amy, why don't you go first?
You're such an asshole. I saw this question. I was like, fuck you.
I feel like, isn't this a necessary part of the podcast?
Yes, this is and if you're like new, if you haven't been,
no, I am a cautionary tale. Okay.
If you have not been listening to the podcast since spring 2021, you may not know the rich lore that is Amy's night with soju.
And the fact that she survived it.
Yeah.
How? I don't know how. So, okay. So first of all,
what do you think it tastes like? Tell us that first.
So I remember the strawberry more than just like the plain.
Right.
The plain, it has like a smooth kind of like vodka kind of taste, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes down much smoother than vodka, even I would think. And the strawberry was very sweet and did not taste alcoholic at all. And look, and we'll get to this when we start talking about like soju and K-dramas and stuff, but like, because this is going to go along with my my soju pet peeve in dramas. Don't believe the millions of bottles that you see on tables with like 2 people in a drama, because we were doing a pod on Korean food and drink, which will never see the light of day. I drank 2 full bottles of soju and ate a little cup of Amazon tteokbokki. That's it. That's all I had in my stomach, and it did not stay in my stomach. I don't remember anything other than that. I don't remember anything at all except waking up on my floor. And I was a teacher librarian, guys. I had school the next day. It was online school, thank God, because it was.
Yeah, you're like a real adult.
It was the pandemic, but I am a real adult, and thank goodness. I don't know if I should say thank goodness my kids weren't here, or maybe they should have been here, because I should not be alive right now.
Right.
Don't like have a couple shots and that's it. I had a migraine the next morning. I had to miss a faculty meeting, and just say that I had a migraine, which I do get migraines, but that was not, I mean, I needed some hangover soup, like, whoa.
Yeah.
And nobody was here to make it for me. Nobody was here to run to the pharmacy and get me the little bottle of whatever it is I'm supposed to drink to get rid of my hangover. The shit's legit, you guys. Okay. It's legit, and I will never have it again.
Yeah, I've never seen Amy like that. I mean, it went south
I was
fast.
not in control.
Yeah, it went south
fast.
I will say that I did not drink the whole bottle, which I feel like at the time I don't drink as much anymore, but I drank pretty consistently. But I don't know why. I guess we were doing the pod and I was like focused and I just kept forgetting to drink it. I don't know. So I drank like,
and I was just keeping up with Leah. Like Leah drank it all.
Yeah, I think I drank like half the bottle. I will tell you, it is much smoother than I anticipated. So, the idea that it's like Korean vodka, I feel like that's a good comparison, but it's much easier to drink than vodka, because I didn't really understand when I was like watching the shows and they were like taking shots of it. I was like, really?
Because it's like it looks like a beer bottle, because it's a beer bottle.
Yeah,
size.
But it goes down really easily. I can see why it's a popular drink. I can, because I think it's very easy to drink. Very, very easy to drink. And I bet it's very good with like food, like a big Korean barbecue with some soju, I bet is fantastic.
I could dry heave right now.
I know, but
like that's like how much like it's triggering my gag reflex.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Yeah.
So I have a different tale, which is I really like it, and I drink it reasonably often.
I was gonna say, don't you still get it? Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah.
But do you drink it like we did that night? Like you drank 2 bottles that night and you were fine.
Sometimes.
How? I don't.
And so I would say,
do I have a liver?
So I don't know. I mean, look, it affects me for sure, but I would say that I don't have like a visceral negative response. I like it. I find it really pleasant. In fact, so I think when I first started, so the first thing to point out is where I live. It's not easy to, like, it wasn't easy to get in Santa Cruz. Like, it wasn't like the grocery store just had it or anything like that.
No, I went to a Korean grocery store to get it.
Yeah. So I had to do some, and I didn't want to drive over the hill to where there's a lot of, we do have a really great Korean grocery store, and then we have like H Marts and stuff like that. So I was able to source some like kind of at like a rando store, like in like the greater county, but they were very like, you know, kind of like the very fruity, like heavily grape flavored, heavily, you know, like they were just super sweet. And those are okay, but I don't really like the super sweet. So what I kind of have come down to like mostly liking, again, I'm not acting like I'm like some connoisseur. So if you're like listening, I'm not pretending to be like, oh yes, I like know my way around soju. I just have like, I drink it like semi regularly. Like it's not like my fridge has got it full or anything. I don't drink a ton anyway, but I would say when I do drink, I tend to drink. Like I don't necessarily have like a glass of wine at night. I'm either going to like be like, woo woo, or like not drink.
Right.
Not like 100% of the time, but like most of the time. And I'm trying to like not do that much. But I would say like Jinro is the brand that I tend to like the most. And I've liked
that's what I drank.
Maybe like the basic, I like the sugar-free kind a lot. And I prefer to drink it if I have it not sweetened and not flavored. And I kind of like it I don't mind it cold, but I kind of like it warmer better. I kind of like it room temperature.
I do want to add, I live in Pennsylvania. If anyone is familiar with Pennsylvania, it's a pain in the ass to buy alcohol. Most, any liquor has to be purchased at a state store. And our state stores do carry it. So it is accessible. I can go to my state liquor store and I can find soju, which I was surprised. I honestly thought it was going to be very hard for me to find, and it was not. So thank you, Pennsylvania State Liquor Board.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's like, thank you, State Liquor Board, for supplying soju to us, because then I was able to buy it pretty easily and try different flavors. They had different flavors.
Yeah, I probably could have gotten it at Binny's. I have a Binny's right down the street. Do you guys have Binny's?
No.
Like a big liquor warehouse store that has like everything, like beer, wine, spirits, whatever.
State store, remember?
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Like I probably could have gotten it at Binny's, but I wanted to go to the Korean store because I wanted like the legit collection, you know?
Right.
And I did. And it was fun to do. I mean, it was like a whole like we have cereal aisles in the US. Like that was like the soju like shelves at the Korean grocery store. Like there were so many different kinds.
Right.
So I really respect that Amy has trauma from this night. There is times where, and I have not done it out of respect. I have wanted to go back into the files, find that episode and not publish it, but just listen to it.
I'm going to delete it. I really don't want it to ever, don't.
No. And so I don't, I just ignore it that it's
Thank
there. I would never ever release it. I would never share it, but I have wanted to just listen to it because I just remember it going like pretty wild.
When I woke up the next morning, I still had Squadcast on.
Yeah, like which is our
recording platform. Like I hadn't logged out. The camera light was still on. I was like, what? We
could actually just watch you for
probably you probably
it was
see
bad.
me laying on my bedroom floor. Like I can't even believe I'm talking about this. Like it's so humiliating.
It's not like
it's fine.
I've been there. It just didn't happen with soju.
In your 40s? Like in your 40s?
Like, you know what? Sure.
Like I
not saying do it on the regular, but I'm not going to say don't feel humiliated. Don't feel humiliated.
I don't. I mean, like I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Like I really didn't. And I don't have a tolerance. Like
you're not a big drinker.
I don't drink regularly. I drink once a week when I go to trivia, and that's like it. Or if I go out to dinner with friends, I don't tend to drink at home.
And when you drink trivia, you're drinking beer. So this is a totally different type of alcohol.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me that it went south so bad, especially because you were trying to keep up with Leah, who does drink on a little bit more regularly. I feel like
I don't mean that gifted drinker.
I don't mean that in a bad way.
It wasn't even a matter of like trying to keep up. It just went down so smoothly that I didn't realize how fast I was drinking it.
I do think people need to realize how smoothly it goes down. I was very surprised at how easy it was to drink. Very surprised. Like we get a lot of people who like drink it in K-dramas. They're like, and they like make a face, and I'm like, oh my God, like they clearly have never had Everclear in college. Like
that's seriously. I have some Everclear stories.
That's I'm sorry. I guess we got some terrible.
But again, I haven't had Everclear in like 25 years, and I never will again. Like, good God.
But I've already burned my esophagus in college.
It was an unexpected event for what should have just been a quiet Wednesday night.
It was.
I think that's it too. Like you didn't have your head in the game, but like that's where the night was going.
Oh my God.
None of us anticipated.
And so we had just like a range of snack. Like we were basically going to try some food, try some drinks, and kind of do like a little bit of like, the YouTube mukbang of like, this is like what this is, because we were like baby into our drama watching, and we were like, let's try snacks. Let's try snacks. We're in the pandemic very strongly still. Like we're at home, like let's get some food and like have a little party.
So just picture me, my Amazon bought microwave spicy tteokbokki and 2 full fucking bottles of soju.
Well, you know what? Live
trauma.
Live and
laugh, love.
Live, laugh, love. Live, laugh, love. Hang
Live,
in
laugh,
there.
Soju.
Like a little kitten. Hang in there.
Yeah.
Except the poster is like me wildly drunk,
Right.
hanging upside down from that branch. Yeah.
Okay.
So, anything else you want to add? Sorry.
About that night? No.
No. Let's never speak of it again.
Soju dates back to the Three Kingdoms period in Korea, which lasted from 57 BCE to 668 CE. According to Food for Foodies blog, originally made from rice brews fermented with Nuruk starter, it was modified with distillation techniques introduced by the Mongols. And then during the Japanese colonization, thousands of recipes were lost, leading to more standardized production. Soju's path to popularity took an interesting turn when rice production couldn't keep up with demand. To combat this issue, producers started using alternative starches like sweet potatoes or tapioca as substitutes for rice. This led to the advent of diluted soju, commonly known as the green bottle soju, which is diluted with sweeteners to achieve lower alcohol content.
Not low enough.
Yeah. And today, soju remains one of the most consumed beverages in South Korea.
In addition, here are some facts about soju from Food for Foodies blog. As of 2017, South Koreans consumed an estimated 3.6 billion bottles of soju annually. That's around 86 bottles per adult in just 1 year. According to a report from 1973, the production of green bottle soju became a critical part of South Korea's industrial growth. And since the lifting of restrictions on soju production in 1996, the variety and diversity in this category have increased exponentially. These changes led to a significant decrease in alcohol content compared to earlier versions of the beverage.
See, so it could have been worse, Amy. You could have actually died.
Let's all just take a moment of silence and thank some higher power that I'm still here.
Okay, so there are a few proper ways to in Korean society to drink soju. Before we get into that, what are some things about soju drinking that surprised you when you first started watching K-dramas?
So I think I kind of...
go ahead.
I was going to say, I think I kind of already mentioned it, but like the size of the bottle, right? Like just because I'm used to the way that, you know, we do it here in the West. And if you're buying a spirit, it's like there are smaller bottles, like you can get, you know, smaller bottles of spirits. So people usually have a large bottle and you use it, you know, you'll pour it into a shot glass, you'll pour it into a rocks glass, you'll use it as a mix-in or whatever. But you usually don't just like crack open a bottle of vodka, sit down and start pouring shots until it's done. At least I don't. So yeah, the size of the bottle, it was just confusing to me because it looked like that's a beer bottle that I would just pick up and drink right out of the, you know, the neck. So that was interesting. And then also like the respect part of it, you know, the turning away, from, you know, like an elder when you're drinking and covering your mouth. I thought that was interesting. I like how there's a cultural respect aspect to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Leah. No, go ahead. Because you're going to go off of that, aren't you? So you can keep going.
Yeah, I guess just to piggyback on that, like what is something that like stood out for me is I like I just like anything that has like a level of etiquette to it. And so when it was like what surprised me and like I was interested in at first was to see just kind of like, yeah, the different etiquette of, who pours, who doesn't pour, receiving the drink with the two hands, just like all the different aspects that go into it. And so I found that to be like when I was first watching K-dramas and like settling into, the cultural nuances and stuff like that, I think it was the etiquette part of it that was interesting to me.
Yeah, I would say I was just really struck by the fact that they take a relatively small bottle. It looks like a pint, like a 16-ounce beer or whatever. What's the size of a regular beer? And they pour it into like these little glasses and drink it. I just was like, oh, that's so interesting. And I guess too, I don't know if it's really the way it is anymore when you turn 21, but when when I turned 21 and you first start drinking, you mix things.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I would be like, oh, you'd mix, because I didn't know what soju tasted like when I first started watching K-dramas. So to me, I'm like, why don't they mix that with like a juice or a Coke or, something like that? Like that's what we do with our liquor, And so, but no, they're just like raw dogging it straight. And it wasn't until I tried it that I understood why. But yeah, it was just interesting and it made me want to try it. And I have to be honest, I get why they don't mix it. That's not what I get why they drink it the way they do. And it is, again, we said before, it goes down much easier than any liquor I think I have had, really. Yeah.
Just say no. Hugs, not drugs.
Leah, do you want to?
Yeah, I was like, stop. Just stop the soju hate now. It's not for everyone, but I don't think we have to.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good. I would buy it again for sure. What I want to do is I want to go to like a Korean, like a hole in the wall Korean barbecue joint in Korea where like the employees aren't nice to me. How like you go to restaurants and like when the employees aren't nice to you, that's when the food's good. I want to go to a Korean barbecue place where someone's like yelling at me, and I want to sit there and I want to eat really good barbecue and drink soju.
I went to a local like Korean barbecue and I had makgeolli. Like I won't drink soju anymore, but yeah, I had makgeolli. I did it, so that was good.
I did in the UK, and that's when I finished all the makgeolli and didn't give it to Heather. I didn't ask her. I just like finished it. And then I was like, oh my God, I didn't even offer it to Heather. And she's like, it's okay. I didn't want any more. And I was like, no, that was really rude that I just
greedy
finished it off.
American devil.
I was just so excited. I loved it. I thought it was delicious. I really liked it.
So, there are some thoughts on some of the best ways to drink soju. It's often drank cold in a 2-ounce soju glass. You can try it with somak, which is soju mixed with beer. And in an interview with Food and Wine, Phil Aboud, co-owner of the Southside Parlor in Seoul, he says, when people dine out in Korea, the hierarchy in age is an important factor. The youngest person at the table pours and refills everyone's glasses, and you traditionally accept your glass with both hands as a sign of respect. Your glass should always be full, never empty, and if you're done drinking for the moment, leave some soju in the glass to signal you don't want to refill. You'll never see a Korean pouring soju for themselves. That's a faux pas, he adds. And when you say cheers, avoid eye contact and look away. So again, I also think, just as like my caveat, is that's a sweeping, generalization. I think that covers like a lot, and it covers a lot of what you see in dramas. But again, we are making these comments as outsiders, and there's going to be like nuances and representation differences and like behavioral patterns that are going to contradict with that too. And I just always am going to throw in caveats, especially when we're kind of talking about like topics like this, because we acknowledge that, we're making broad generalizations.
Right. We know very little. We know our little bit of experience and what we've seen in dramas.
This podcast topic, we wanted to give some background on soju for people who aren't familiar with it. But the main reason we decided to make this a topic is just so we can talk about drinking and K-dramas, okay? Which we are now getting into.
Just because they're some of the most fun scenes in dramas. They really are.
They are. And so to start with, what is a soju scene trope that you like? Because I find that there are a lot of familiar things I just feel like the soju scene is a very common kind of like K-drama scene. It's like the claw machine, the amusement park, the soju drinking scene. So what's kind of like a trope that is often in those scenes that you like?
Yeah, I mean, like I already said, like the millions of bottles on the table, like that always cracks me up. Like whenever soju is happening, there are many, many bottles on the table, exponentially more than there are people drinking the soju. Unless it's like a 2-person, like there's a scene that I'm going to talk about a little bit that's like more of a heartwarming scene. But like when it's a people getting drunk scene, there are a lot of bottles, like one enough that makes me worry about the characters, but of course I know it's there for comic effect. And very often soju scenes are followed by piggyback scenes.
Yep.
And I love a good drunk piggyback ride.
For me, I just love the like the pojang matchas, like the red tents. and just like they're a fun setting. And I feel like whenever we have a setting there, I'm usually into it.
I love those.
I agree. For me, there's always like a head thunk on the table. Like when they just can't hold their heads up anymore and it thunks and the bottles rattle, and it happens in like every soju scene, and I love it every time. I just think it's funny. I think it's ridiculous. And then we're gonna get to this, but God, I love it. This is pretty common too in K-dramas, but it's where enemies drink together and then by the end of the night they're drunken besties. It's my favorite. I absolutely love it.
So good.
Okay, and so is there a soju scene trope that is kind of a pet peeve, something that you don't like, or maybe you think it's overdone?
Yeah, I think it's funny. So I'm contradicting Amy on accident, which is I don't love a drunk piggyback. I don't like hate it, but I will say it's kind of like a pet peeve for me. I feel like there's like I will. The only time I'm going to like a drunk piggyback at this moment in my K-drama is when we do a gender role reversal flip and we have like the girl trying to like, the guy. I do like that. But beyond that, I do feel like I just kind of like it's like the dynamics of it aren't like my fave. It's just kind of like, yeah, the drunk girl in the back it's currently not something that's super working for me in dramas.
That just reminds me of the scene in See You in My 19th Life. I mean, I know we're talking about scenes, but where she carries him,
yes,
on the like cart thing where she carries An Bo Hyun.
It's like a wheelbarrow, isn't it?
Yeah, because she knew how to do that because in her previous life she was like one of those like cart. I don't know,
like a rickshaw type, like a rickshaw
thank
type
you.
Thing. Yeah,
thank you. She was like a rickshaw cart driver. So then she like kind of grabs this thing and she's like, I know how to do it, and she like throws him in the back and pulls it like that. That's fun to me because that is a little bit more of like a role reversal because it's the woman toting the like drunk man. It was funny. For me, a pet peeve is I kind of can't stand it when there's like their slurred acting is bad. Like the slurred words are just bad acting. I feel like we kind of get that a lot because I do think that's kind of hard to do. And I just hate it when it's like it just feels overdone. You know what I mean? It just drives me crazy. And then I know that I'm probably going to contradict myself later, maybe, but I guess I'm a little over this because it's happened so often now, but it drives me crazy when one character is drunk and another character makes a love confession and then the drunk character doesn't remember it. It drives me crazy. And I know it's really common and
I like it. I still like it.
No,
I like all the super tropey stuff. Give me the drunken love confessions and the piggyback rides.
The thing is, I love drunken love confessions, but I want them to remember it. I guess that's my thing. I wish they would remember it.
Yeah, I do think that sometimes they do and pretend that they don't, right? That's the convenience of being drunk, is you can say you didn't remember when you really did.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't think I have any like real pet peeves, just kind of like what I was talking about before, is that like when there are more bottles than there are people that should be drinking them, and I think this comes from my trauma. It pulls me out because I'm like counting the bottles and I know what 2 bottles did to me. So I'm like, there's no way. There's no way you drank all that and you're still sitting up. But yeah.
And Leah's like, I could do more.
Yeah.
Leah's like, give it to me.
Well, I actually going to like later when we talk about favorite drinking scenes. So my favorite drinking scenes are when there's beyond like, I'll get into my favorite drinking scene, which is do not try this at home, kids.
Okay. So drinking scenes are often a turning point in a drama where the plot thickens or relationships are tested. Will they or won't they? Will the truth come out? According to an article from K-Dramas for Non-Koreans, the K-drama drinking scene is a masterclass in dramatic tension and release. Quote, it's where characters are stripped down to their core, where the laughter is loudest, the tears are most heartfelt. It's the place where bonds are forged in the fire of shared struggles and where love often finds the courage to declare itself. End quote. That's really kind of like dramatic quote, but I still kind of liked it. So what is a drinking scene for you that was like really pivotal to a drama? Because sometimes they're just for comedic effect, and sometimes they really are a major component of the overall storyline.
Yeah, I've got one that kind of harkens back to the quote that you read in the beginning from Bobby Yoon about like, sometimes soju is sweet and sometimes it's bitter. In Itaewon class, early on in Itaewon class, where Pak Seo-hee is drinking soju with his father after he got expelled from school. And his expulsion, like if you haven't seen it, it stems from his strong sense of like moral justice and standing up to An Bo-hyun's bully character, Gunwan, and Gunwan's father. And he's deeply ashamed. Like he got kicked out of school. It's just him and his dad is working his butt off, to take care of him. But his father reveals that he's proud of his son for sticking to his morals and not backing down. And he asks him how the soju tastes, which becomes a theme for like the entire drama, because he tells them that the soju will taste bitter while times are hard, but it'll taste sweet when you're finally happy. And that thread runs throughout the whole drama, and I love it. It's one of my favorite dramas, and it's such a heartwarming and also heartbreaking scene because he doesn't know what he's going to do now that he's kicked out of school. So he goes on a 15-year revenge plot.
I love that you remembered that, because I did. Now that you brought it up, that's all coming back to me.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. That's an incredibly important part of the entire drama.
I mean, if it makes you feel better, I didn't like remember it off the top of my head. I had to like skim through, like, what have we watched? Where do I remember the soju stuff?
Still,
you know what I mean? Like,
that's so good.
Yeah, I like it too, because I think it feels pretty universal to like so many different stories that we've watched and that we've liked. So I think this, I think your example wins.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
I just went into like kind of how we often do, just like kind of pick a moment that kind of sticks out for us that we liked. And I was trying to think of one where like, where's a moment where I feel like we have a pivot that happens around the soju, because I do like the idea of like what can happen. And again, I am making sweeping statements about drinking, like caveat.
Right.
But sometimes, there is like, phrases like calling it a truth serum. Again, I'm not saying this is good or validated. I'm just saying, like sometimes it can be that you become more uninhibited and more like,
That's why we have all the confessions. And I don't think that I don't think you have to give all the caveats, because it's not a strictly soju thing. Like it happens.
Oh no, I'm not saying strictly because of soju.
Oh, okay.
Like because of drinking.
Drinking.
Like, I don't want to be like, I don't want to be like holding up because there's a lot of people who will be listening who've struggled with alcohol addiction or other things. So I don't want to have it be like glorifying it.
Gotcha. Right.
Gotcha. I do think there's like a lot of social norming context that happened around people getting drunk. So my caveat is more broad this time.
Okay.
However, it can bring people together. It can also cause harm. So I just want to acknowledge that, but we are now moving. I'm not going to bring it up again. I'm going to say, I know all of this. We all know this. There's reality, and then there's K-drama land. We are now in K-drama land. I had to say that just for myself to move forward.
Okay.
Thank you for humoring me. So for me, just a moment that there was like a turning point in the drama itself that I enjoyed was when the camellia blooms, which is set at a bar. So we've got the character of Dongbak, who is who is a single mother running a bar called Camellia. And then we have Kang Ha-neul playing Young-sik, the very sweet green flag community police officer. And so there's a time where, there's a lot of push and pull between them. He kind of falls hard and falls first and is very pursuing of her. And there's a lot of hot and cold and will they or won't they? And one of the times that they really begin to connect is when they are in Camellia together. They drink some soju after a hard day. And she kind of reveals a little bit more of kind of her background as a single mom and some of the things she's endured, trying to navigate that. He shares a little bit more about himself. And I feel like it's one of the first times that we see them kind of where you're okay, I can kind of see this working more as a couple, as opposed to just this over the top Young-sik just being I love you. I love you. There's something human that happens that kind of begins to me ground the relationship a little to be okay,
yeah,
we're having some real connection here, as opposed to just kind of the
infatuation.
infatuation.
That's a really good one. I agree. It kind of like starts to take their relationship to a new level. For me, look, I've not talked about I'm Not a Robot in a while. So you know what? You're in for a treat because I refuse to talk about any other, in honesty, I put this question in here just so I could talk about the scene. So that's what happens when I write the script. Anyway, I'm going to talk about the drunken confession scene in I Am Not a Robot. Because I absolutely love the scene, and it is a little bit of a spoiler, but I would say not a big one. And also, if you're listening to this podcast and you have not seen I Am Not a Robot yet, I'm not sorry. Like, I've done my job, I thought, and told you all to watch it, so it's not my problem. Okay. Anyway,
harsh.
I know. So our lovely Min-Kyu, he is falling for who he believes is his own personal robot. And she's sitting next to him while he's drinking, and he confesses that he is falling in love with her. And he says, you know, but you're a robot, and I wish so much that you were real. And it's sort of the turning point for them, because I think up to that point, she was fooling herself a little bit. I think she was like, I can keep pretending. Maybe this will be okay. Maybe I can get out of this. Even though she knew she was falling for him, I think she thought maybe it was one-sided. So she was like, I'm only hurting myself then. So when she realizes she gets this drunken confession from him, it's the turning point where she's like, I need to get out. Like, I need to get out of this because I'm hurting him. And afterwards, I think he also came to the conclusion that he was like, I need to like remove myself from this robot. I know it sounds crazy, but you just got to watch it. He's like, I need to remove myself from this situation because I am falling in love with a robot. I'm like going crazy. And it really was the catalyst for kind of their initial separation, and also leads to the reset scene, which is the hardest scene, one of the hardest scenes.
Heartbreaking.
In a drama that I've ever seen. It made me cry so hard I couldn't see. So anyway, the drunken confession scene in I'm Not a Robot is killer. I mean,
so it's your pet peeve and your favorite scene.
It's not because like they remember. It's not that
I know.
I love a drunken confession. It's only when
I know.
Yeah. So and you know what? I'm Not a Robot can do anything. So
break all the rules.
Break all the rules. All right, so now let's just get to what's a favorite soju drinking drunk scene of yours?
Why don't you do yours, Megan?
Oh yeah, I know. I know. I am so sorry, but too bad because this is one of my favorite things. So I chose a scene from Lovely Runner, or like, you know, a big sequence from Lovely Runner. It's when Taesong and Sunjae do karaoke together. So these are the two kind of like male leads. I mean, Sunjae's the male lead, Taesong's the second male lead. And they are definitely at odds with one another. Like they both know that they have feelings for the female lead, Im-Sol, and they drink together. And it starts out like super adversarial, like they're, you know, trying to like one up each other. And then by the end, they're like singing karaoke together. They're like leaning on each other. They are like best friends.
And they sleep together.
They sleep together. Like they're cuddling. Like they wake up cuddling each other. I think he even kisses. I think Sunjae even kisses the top of his head.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, because he doesn't know that it's not Im-Sol.
Yeah, because he thinks it's Im-Sol. I mean, it's just so good. I absolutely love it. And I know it's something that I just watched recently, but it was the first thing that came to mind, so I had to mention it. But obviously, there's a million of these favorite scenes of mine, of, you know, soju scenes.
Look, I just have to point out that like I get very possessive of dramas when I find them first.
I know.
When I find them first and get you guys to watch them and then you love them. And so I feel like this drama belongs to me. And
I know. I'm sorry.
You took my scene. Like, here's what Megan wrote the script and then put her answer in before she shared the script.
That is not true. That is not true.
No, it was just there by the time I got it.
It was.
by the time I opened it.
I know I'm bad. I know.
No, it's funny. I do the same thing. But like, do you guys get like that? Like, do you like, you feel possessive if I am not a robot, right? Because you found it first.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know.
I do not have this, I will say, because probably you haven't tested me because you don't watch the dramas I really love.
I am watching Midnight. I'm watching I just finished episode 4 of Midnight Romance.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, if you want to like it, you can like it. Apparently, I have good compersion.
Look, it's not that I don't want you to love the things that I love. I do. I just
don't take them in the podcast.
I feel like I own them. Yeah, I feel like I own them. Like,
no, it's fair. It's fair. It's fair. I know. Right. I did
I'm
take
just saying everyone in the Patreon now has watched me sing. Just saying.
No, they haven't, because I haven't.
Well,
neither.
I
on the Patreon.
Many people have lately.
If we take a vote, it will not be 100%.
No, it's not 100%.
You said everyone in the Patreon.
I am speaking with hyperbole.
Yeah. Okay. So
hyperbole.
Let's not be hyperbolic about it. Okay.
Okay. I will then continue to give the caveats everyone's enjoying so much when I speak tonight and say a great many people are enjoying this drama.
Here's what cracks me up. I never said that I think that me saying is bad. The only thing I've ever said is that you are shit at selling it. Like the way that you talk about it, I was like, I
am not going to own the responsibility here for this. And I'm going to move to my favorite drinking show and let this go.
Okay, go.
So a scene that came to my mind that I really liked is actually from a drama that I don't super love, but I loved this scene so much.
It's a good scene.
It also is a scene that would be triggering to Amy and worrying about characters. And I'm talking about Descendants of the Sun, episode 13. So in this, I forget what they call it, like no sleep or no nights or something.
I know. I don't remember what it is, but yeah.
The Alpha team is given a 3-day holiday before they need to like roll out on their next mission. And we have Shijin and Dae-young going to decide to drink for 72 hours as like part of their tradition. And forgive me, I forget what they call it, but it is something to the, like whoever like loves Descendants of the Sun is gonna be like, well, actually, but it's something like no sleep or no nights or something like that. And they spend the entire 3 days of their holiday at the exact same restaurant,
just sitting there,
exact same table,
just sitting there. Yeah.
An excessive amount of soju. And I think that what is funny is that they clearly are inebriated. They are not dead because they've drunk for 3 days straight, basically. But we do see that, when Mo-yeon, the other character, comes and then gets drunk from drinking, like, I think even just one shot, like not very many. We have the male character immediately become sober and like take care of business. I don't care. So when I'm saying like, there's times when I just don't have a fuck. I don't have a quibble. Like, I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Like, you want to be up drinking. There are more bottles here than in a bottling plant, like at the factory.
Yeah. That's another thing that cracks me up. They don't clear them away. Like they're there for 3 days and the bottles
because they have to show
they gotta show what they've done. This is their art. This is their project. This is their hard work. So yeah, I don't care. I don't care if this is not real and never ever happens. I don't think it's physically possible to drink for well, I mean, I'm sure it is, but like you just don't want to be that. That's not good. I just loved it so much though. But the dynamics, like the thing is, Descendants of the Sun does so many things right to me. And then just like overarchingly was a disappointment. I do apologize. One of my good friends in Australia, this is like her she's probably on her 20th rewatch now without a joke. I just feel like there's so much in this drama that is done right. Even though overall it's a no for me, I do love the bromance.
Yeah, the bromance is great.
The bromance is excellent in it.
So since Megan stole a lovely runner, which that's okay, because that scene is amazing. Like 10 out of 10, no notes. I'm going to go to a different.
Nobody owns K-dramas.
No, I own Lovely Runner and I own Goblin. But one that we'll go to like another time travel-ish drama, which is the King Eternal Monarch. And I love the scene. So if you haven't watched the King Eternal Monarch, there are parallel universes, and we've got Egon, played by Lee Min-ho, and he is the king of Korea with a C, and he believes that Kim Go-eun's character Tae-ul, who is a cop in Korea with a K, that they are destined to be together because of reasons. And he has made his way to her world. And she's kind of just like showing him around because he is a totally pampered king and does not know the ways of like drinking soju in a bar. And she teaches him what somak is, which is, soju and beer and how to drink it. So like, here's this gorgeous, like gorgeous king from a parallel universe wearing his coat with like diamonds on it that he like sells for money, who believes that like he is your fated mate. And she's like, here, let me show you a cool drink and how to drink it. Like, I love that Teal's just Teal and she cares not that he's claiming to be a king and she's just teaching him how to be a dude. And it's a fun scene.
All right. And is there a drama where you think the characters need to put down the soju and drink some water? This made me laugh when I wrote that.
So I did get a lovely runner for this one. And it's just for one particular scene. So there's a scene in Lovely Runner where Im Sol, our heroine, and this is when she's an adult because it goes back and forth between high school and, when she's in her 30s, is angry at her boss. And you see it in flashbacks because the next day she sees this red envelope on her boss's desk and her boss is like, oh, like, thank you for this. And she's like, and then it all starts to come back to her. The night before, she got like rip roaring drunk on some soju and wrote a crazy resignation letter. And it just like, then it's this whole like sort of, snowball effect when she tries to get the letter back and it ends up getting mixed up with a letter that Sanjay is not a letter, but an envelope that he's supposed to read like at an award show who won an award, instead ends up reading her resignation letter on air and looking like a total crazy person. And it's super funny. So maybe she should still do it. But yeah, it was a mistake.
I can go next. And for me, look, it's Mr. Goo in our liberation notes. He is an alcoholic. It is sad to watch. He has a room that is just full of green soju bottles. It's empty, and he goes in there sweaty after a day of hard work being fucking damaged and hot. And I'm sorry, it is hot in K-drama to be damaged and hot and go drink alone in your sad room. He's so sweaty. His shirt clings to him so tightly. Yes, he needs help.
Mm-hmm.
But he's currently just going to get a lot of drinking done and let the daughter, who is the eldest daughter of the or no, not the eldest, the youngest daughter of his employer, come over at night, stand in the doorway as he is got 3 million bottles of empty soju, and just tell him to worship her. It's hot. But he needs help.
Yeah.
Caveat.
Yeah. He needs help. Okay, so I am gonna go with a character from Another Miss O, and I, famously do not like this drama, but this character did come to mind because it is Park Soo-kyung. So she is the older sister of the male lead, and she's a freaking mess. So I do think she's an alcoholic. She drinks every single night. And the thing about this drama is her antics would take up a big portion of the plot, and it was always very derailing for me. So it kind of like really messed with the flow, because it was like things would be happening in the plot and then they'd come home and she'd be like drunk and a mess and talking about random stuff. And I'm like, what is happening? Why are we spending all this time on her? But I felt bad because she really made a mess of her life. I don't even remember everything she did when she was drunk, but it was a lot. So she slept with like 3 different people that she didn't want to sober. I think she got an HEA in the end, which was very sweet because I think she finally stopped drinking, but she really needed some water, basically. And okay.
Closing it out, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Last question. Pick 2 or more characters who you'd love to see drink together from any drama, mix and match.
So I have 2 pairs. First one, mix and match, is Baekhyun Woo, which is Kim Soo-hyun from Queen of Tears, and Jang Shin-yu Rowoon from Destined with You. First of all, like early on in Queen of Tears, like the Kim Soo-hyun, Baekhyun Woo drunk scene is hilarious. And together, like they're both such funny yet also endearing characters who turn into complete goobers when they're in love. So I want to see them like get drunk and gush about their powerful partners. And the other one is 2 characters from the same drama, but I want to put them in modern day, and that is Mooduk and the Crown Prince from Alchemy of Souls. I want them to do drunken karaoke. I love their dynamic so much. Like as buddies, like not romantic, like just as friends.
That's good. Okay, so the first one I would love to see get drunk together is Dongman from Fight for My Way and Kay
from
God. Bad and Crazy. Yes. I just feel like those 2 together would be amazing. They'd probably end up doing Eggo together. They would be besties, absolute besties. I just feel like the chaos that would ensue.
Who would Kay not be besties with, though?
Right, I know, but and like they would get in a drunken fight with someone, and it would be fantastic. And it would be amazing. And then my second that I actually just thought of now was Ko Moon Young from It's Okay Not to Be Okay.
Yeah.
And basically the devil from Death's Game. She's female and she is badass, and I just feel like her and Ko Moon Young would just have a lot to talk about. Like I really think they'd get along. I really do. And I think Death would, or the devil, whatever she is, would love Ko Moon Young. She'd be like, "You're great. You're definitely not going to hell."
So yeah, I had a segue. I'll just throw out my quick Ko Moon Young one because I had her, but there's one I want to talk about more. I had actually Ko Moon Young and Jumpyo from Boys Over Flowers.
Oh my god,
because they're both just kind of like, I think they would just bicker and fight, and they're both entitled and they're both spoiled, and I think it would just be funny. Like they'd be like, yeah. And like, just like, I don't know. I just thought,
I feel like Junpyo would be doing a lot of like scoffy head tosses.
Yeah, it would be funny. But 2 bromances, like a bromance that I would love to see, because I do love a bromance, would be, I've already talked about Young Sik. I haven't talked about Young Sik for a while, but Young Sik from When the Camellia Blooms, played by Kang Ha-nul, who is like the greenest of green flags. Except for we have some other big green flags, and I would love to see some green flags get together and just green flag out. So I'm going with Lee Jun-ho from Extraordinary Attorney, because I think Kang Tae-oh and Kang Ha-nul as actors would be like, I'd like to see that conversation.
Yeah,
my own edification. But getting those 2 characters drunk of like, him as like the paralegal who's just like all loyalty and genuine care and like devotion for like his, for Attorney Wu. And then we have, Young Sik, who is all in on Dong Baek. I just want to see them both just talk about how much they love their woman.
I love
that. Yeah. Oh my God.
They would be so amazing.
They would.
And I
love that.
So good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's fun. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. Yeah, that was a fun podcast. So I don't know whose idea this one was, probably Leah's, but
I think it was definitely not mine.
It was a good it was a good idea for a pod. Leah even had a very good title, so you'll probably see this. But it was The Significance of Soju, how this famous K-drama spirit lubricates plots. I was like, Leah was on one when she wrote
good.
that.
Yeah,
like
that
sometimes she just whipped that out, and yeah,
She is a title whisperer in general. I go to Leah when I need titles for books too.
Same. I mean, I put it in the script because I was like, we got to remember this because it's a good title, Leah.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
So you know what? Wherever you fall out on drinking soju, we support you.
Yeah.
We will continue to enjoy it in our dramas.
That's the only place I'm going to enjoy it, isn't in my dramas.
And
it's for safety reasons, you guys. Like,
yeah, let's give Amy a break.
Let's give Amy a seatbelt to buckle in.
I do. I need to buckle in. I will have beer and chicken when we go to Seoul. I just will not have soju.
The thing I will always promise you as a vow of a true friend is we will never return to that podcast.
Never.
No.
Never.
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 I put it in a Viking pyre, send it out, shoot the arrow in it, and we just let it go.
Like Boromir.
Yep.
I'm on board with that.
Just light it on fire.
Yep.
All right. Well, anyway, let us know what you guys think. Let us know your favorite scenes, and we'll be back next week.
Annyeong.
Thanks, everyone.
Annyeong.
감사합니다. Thank you for listening to Afternoona Delight. Where can you find us outside the pod? Head on over to afternoonadelight.com. That's AFTERNOONADELIGHT.com. You'll find links to all our social media, our book recs, K-pop and K-skincare recs, and if you want even more Afternoona Delight, because really who doesn't, you can join our Patreon, where you can choose the patron level that's right for you. Join in daily K-drama conversations, listen to bonus podcast episodes just for patrons, and participate in our monthly live K-drama support group via Zoom. We can't wait for you to be a part of the community. Until next time, annyeong!